In this tutorial, we're going to look at creating our navigation screen. We won't actually be creating the navigation screen for real until we finished all of our storyboard screens. So we're just going to have a scene which is called navigation, and we're going to have it as a placeholder scene so that we can, because each of our scenes needs to link back to the navigation screen with a sort of maybe home icon. So this is really just a blank scene we're going to make in order to link back to that scene, and we'll make the scene, design the scene and make it look the way that you want it to look when the story screens have been finished. So the first thing I need to do is I'm going to insert a scene, and you can see here I've got scene 1, scene 10, scene 2, a bit odd names. Scene 10 is actually the navigation screen that's been created. So first of all, I'm going to go to Window, Other Panels and Scene, and I'm going to move scene 10 to the top, and then I'm going to double click and I'm going to call it Navigation. I'm going to give it a name. Very important to give it a name because we need to refer to that name in our action script when we're adding action script to the buttons. So navigation, then I've got scene 1 and I've got scene 2. So my navigation, let's go to the navigation screen. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a new layer and I'm going to call it Actions. And I'm going to always have an Actions layer. It's good practice to keep your action script layer separate from the other layers. And on the Actions, I'm going to add my stop action. So stop, open and close. And then I'm going to just have in here, this is just going to be text. We'll delete this when we design the scene properly, and I'm going to just use the text tool and let's have it navigation. And then finally I'm going to, because this will be the first scene that plays, it's the first one in order, I'm going to just have a button that will take me to scene 1. So to make a home button, so I'm going to say insert new symbol, and I'm going to call it BTN home. Make sure type button is selected. Okay, and I'm going to have in the up state, I'm actually going to use some text, and I'm going to have red text. Don't need it to be as big as that. Let's have it to be 20, and I'm going to just type the words in capital letters home, and just drag that down. And then actually I think I will have another layer. You can see I have layers within the states. So in this layer I'm just going to drag it to be under that one. I'm going to have a rectangle primitive because I'd like a nice rounded rectangle, and I want the background color to be cream, and let's just draw that behind here. Okay. Now, I think I'll actually choose a gradient fill. It looks a little bit boring, so let's go for a gradient fill, and I'm going to change the gradient color to be pink. No, I'm not going to choose pink. I'm going to choose a dark grey. Okay, that's better. So now I'm going to go to my overstate, and I'm just going to, using shift, holding down both, insert key, which actually selects both of the layers, insert keyframe, and I'm going to make the home button just nothing too spectacular. Just move it up a little bit, and I'm going to change the color of the text to black, and I'm going to change the gradient to, going to my color palette, I'm going to change the grey to green. And then finally for the down, I'm going to again insert keyframe, and I'm going to make the gradient, I'm going to make the text white text, and then I'm going to make the background gradient is going to be black. So I'm going to save the button symbol, and then we're going to go back to scene 2, and as always, home button, and I'm going to call that layer BTN home, And in that layer, I'm going to drag across an instance of my home button. There we go. I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. Go to the transform tool and just make it a little bit smaller. Now I'm going to give the instance a name. The instance, I'm going to call it BTN Home, and I'm now going to add some action script to make this go back to the navigation scene. I just want to remind you that the navigation scene is called navigation. So to do this, I'm going to go to my actions, right click and go to actions, and then I'm going to select the instance of my button, exactly the same procedure every time, go to code snippets, and I want to go to scene and play. Now you'll notice this time when I'm given my action script, there's some additional instructions which tell me to replace scene 3 with the name of the scene that I would like to play. The name of the scene I'd like to play is navigation. So just check I've spelled that correctly, navigation, and then I'm going to save my Flash document and just test my button. So when I go to play the Flash document, Control Enter to play. I could have used the control menu. I'm on my navigation screen. Pressing this takes me to my scene 1. This button created in an earlier tutorial takes me to scene 2. And then the home button that I've just created will take me back to my navigation. And that's the end of this tutorial.